the truth is, in America, the vast majority of us are not eating the recommended amounts of fruits and vegetables on a daily basis. For the average American, it's over 90% of us are not eating the recommended amounts. For the average teenager in America, it's 98% are not eating the recommended amounts of fruits and vegetables on a daily basis. So when you consider the marketing that's been out there for years, preaching the health benefits, I don't feel like that's just enough, and what I think, your audience and anyone who encounters our content can maybe appreciate or connect with. I mean, that's something we receive feedback on, is we're not here to tell you that fruits and vegetables are necessarily like, I'm not a dietitian. I'm not a doctor. I am someone who sold fresh produce, and I'm a mom who wants my kids to eat more fruits and veggies and less Cheetos and Chips Ahoy, So that's where our expertise comes from. It's real grassroots. And I just believe that one way we can swing that pendulum in consumption and sales, I mean, there's definitely a business interest in getting more people to buy and eat fruits and vegetables. But to swing that pendulum, we have to start with education, because I think we're all also victims of that. Like, we are participatory in the cycle of like, hey, I've got 6 meals I know how to cook by heart, and I just buy the ingredients for those 6 meals on repeat. And if I sprinkle in new meals, like, am I really going to go outside my box with a fruit or veggie my family's never, tried before? And, do I want to risk not knowing how to prep it or select it or how to, store it at home? No, the answer to that is no. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure that our food budget is being managed in a responsible way. And I do believe that education on how to select, store, and serve your fruits and vegetables is a catalyst to increasing consumption in fruits and vegetables, as well as a means to increase consumer confidence in our industry.
Now, you know me, I love a good changemaker story with a big mission, and our guest today has a big mission. Lori Taylor is the founder of The Produce Moms, and she is on a mission to put more fruits and vegetables on every table. The Produce Moms is a community with a passion to educate consumers on the benefits of eating, growing, selecting, storing, and serving fresh produce. As a produce supply chain professional for 10 years, Lori saw a void when it came to sharing knowledge about fresh produce brands. She knew she wanted to find ways to inspire consumers to eat more fruits and vegetables, and Lori went all out with this mission. Lori and the Produce Moms work with the food supply chain, the media, the government, and since founding Produce Moms has had an audience of 2.2 million and over 100 brand partnerships. Lori's amazing entrepreneurial story has been featured by Oprah, Martha Stewart, Forbes, GQ Magazine, Food Network, Hallmark, Real Simple Magazine, HuffPost, Stylecaster, and more. In addition to running the Produce Moms, Lori is also a podcast host and a keynote speaker, and she is included in the Forbes Next 1000. Now let's meet Lori Taylor. Well, welcome to Extraordinary Women Radio, Lori. It is great to have you with us today.
Hey, Cammie, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so where are you joining us from today?
Indianapolis, Indiana is my hometown.
Very good, very good. Well, I am thrilled to have you. I love this topic that you speak about. I was an instant yes, because I'm very much about finding good foods, healthy foods to put into our body. So I know this is your passion, and I know you're doing it in a big way, helping moms, helping kids. Let's start with your entrepreneurial journey and what got you to doing the work that you're doing right now.
Sure. So I'm really proud to be the founder of The Produce Moms, which is an online community and resource that's fully focused on getting more fruits and vegetables on every table. So our media platform is, the primary way we do that, but there's also a lot of other strategies that I'm involved with. And, things like political action are really important in getting more fruits and vegetables into school meals and other child nutrition programs. So I anticipate we'll have time to talk about that. But, I got all my knowledge about fruits and vegetables by selling fruits and vegetables. So for 10 years, I worked in the supply chain at a wholesale distributor. So a huge warehouse company. It was called Indianapolis Fruit Company. And they're still in business today, and very much a big part of America's supply chain and how we move food from the farms to the grocery stores. And my job, I worked there for a decade, and my job was to sell fruits and vegetables to grocery stores. I had about just over 300 retail accounts that I helped manage. My clients spanned an 18-state delivery corridor. And, I serviced everything from like college juice bars to, little bodega style markets that were really focused on Hispanic or Latino shoppers. And also big box traditional grocers like Kroger. Those were all my customers. And, when you're talking about from a regional footprint, I learned a lot about the cultural side of food, working with all of those different types of grocers or food retailers. And that spanned a really, diverse demographic in terms of like, hey, we had Midwest stores. We also had Southeast stores. We were taking care of clients like on the North Shore of Chicago. One of my clients was the grocery store where Oprah Winfrey's chef shopped. So I got exposed to really high end foodie style markets as well. And that was just all foundational in my ability to do what I do today. And when I was at the sales desk, that's when I noticed the void. I was a young mom and also in charge of selling fruits and vegetables to grocery stores, and realizing like there's very little and low brand recognition, even I was an industry professional for over, 10 years at that point. And I was like, okay, if I don't know these brands and I can't understand the farming stories, and, I have this customer and one of the fanciest grocers of St. Louis telling me I only want honeydew if it's King of the West brand. Like I didn't even know brands of honeydew existed. And so those were all learning opportunities for me. And I thought, and then that was also when I recognized a categorical void, despite the fact that it was 2012 when I pitched the concept of the Produce Moms to my former employer. And, that was really the beginning of the big blogging wave or craze. It is what podcasting is today is what blogging was in like 2012 through 2015. And, and that's how this all began. I was able to say to my employers, like, hey, we really need, there's no online destination out there that talks all about fruits and vegetables, like really diving into how to select, store, and serve them, and helping people as a comprehensive resource about everything that you could find in the produce department. Because realistically, it's very, our industry is very segmented. So it's like, okay, you could go to the Chiquita website and learn about bananas, but do you really need 365 days of banana inspiration and content? I mean, maybe, but chances are bananas are just one component of your grocery spend, one component, one product line that you buy from the produce department. And there's more than likely a real need, and we've proven that through the Produce Moms. There's a need for people to understand, like, how do I eat dates? How do I prepare a fresh artichoke? Why is, my spring lettuce in this package? Like, is it truly triple wash? Those are all things that, we're able to help leverage our contribution and role in the value chain, and share that knowledge with the most powerful part of the food supply chain, and that is the households, the grocery store shoppers. And I'll even take it a step further, like, the people making the grocery decisions on behalf of an entire household.
Right. And you talk about food culture, and I think that's a fascinating term.
Mm-hmm.
What was the hope that you wanted, what was that? What did you want to shift around food culture when you embarked upon this journey?
Well, I really wanted to, I do believe, okay, so putting on like my DC hat and leaning into some of the data I have to bring to the Hill when I'm, doing political action to get more fruits and vegetables in school meals and WIC and other programs. The truth is, in America, the vast majority of us are not eating the recommended amounts of fruits and vegetables on a daily basis.
Right.
For the average American, it's over 90% of us are not eating the recommended amounts. For the average teenager in America, it's 98% are not eating the recommended amounts of fruits and vegetables on a daily basis. So when you consider the marketing that's been out there for years, preaching the health benefits, I don't feel like that's just enough, and what I think, your audience and anyone who encounters our content can maybe appreciate or connect with. I mean, that's something we receive feedback on, is we're not here to tell you that fruits and vegetables are necessarily like, I'm not a dietitian. I'm not a doctor. I am someone who sold fresh produce, and I'm a mom who wants my kids to eat more fruits and veggies and less Cheetos and Chips Ahoy, So that's where our expertise comes from. It's real grassroots. And
the fire in the mama's belly, right?
Yeah, totally. And I just believe that one way we can swing that pendulum in consumption and sales, I mean, there's definitely a business interest in getting more people to buy and eat fruits and vegetables. But to swing that pendulum, we have to start with education, because I think we're all also victims of that. Like, we are participatory in the cycle of like, hey, I've got 6 meals I know how to cook by heart, and I just buy the ingredients for those 6 meals on repeat. And if I sprinkle in new meals, like, am I really going to go outside my box with a fruit or veggie my family's never, tried before? And, do I want to risk not knowing how to prep it or select it or how to store it at home? No. The answer to that is no. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure that our food budget is being managed in a responsible way. And I do believe that education on how to select, store, and serve your fruits and vegetables is a catalyst to increasing consumption in fruits and vegetables, as well as a means to increase consumer confidence in our industry. I mean, agriculture has been tainted in various controversies. Some are, like just propaganda or gaslighting that have been put out there by, the digital platforms we all enjoy. And some are rooted in fact and, history. So that's also another thing that I'm really passionate about, is making sure that people feel connected to their food producers and using our influence at the Produce Moms to push back on the value chain and encourage each and every person that's an input in the farming process. You have to embrace a heightened transparency.
Yeah. I love that. I totally love that. I have one of my BFFs is deep into the farm industry, and I find it so interesting, some of the conversations that farms are having now around food and that transparency of that cycle, that life cycle of that food, right?
Yeah.
It's really, really, really fascinating. I want to get into the whole world of you growing your business, but before we go there, let's talk to me a little bit about the activist role that you're playing as far as especially for schools. And I think about, my son is long grown and out of school, but I think about the lunches that are being served today. I mean, back then they weren't great, but lunches that are being served today and the commercialism of lunches is really appalling to me. And so I really applaud the work that you're trying to do from an activist perspective. What are the barriers that you're running up against in that space?
Well, so I think I kind of have the opposite school of thought. And I sold fresh produce and food to school cafeterias, during that tenure at the sales desk. I sold them to school food service operators. And all I've seen is continuous improvement to the point where here I am, a food secure household, and I choose to send my children to school with lunch money, not a lunch box.
Okay.
Now, that being said, what are some of the, we've experienced great success on that. I mean, certainly one of the most successful initiatives that I work tirelessly on, that unfortunately has taken about 25 steps back since the pandemic, is salad bars. Salad bars in schools were absolutely one of the most successful interventions for getting children to consume more fresh fruits and vegetables during school meals. I don't know if, salad bars are certainly still in existence, but most of what you're seeing is like prepackaged, like pre-portioned options that children can, choose from and sort of assemble their own salad, but it's not the same as like that fresh inviting buffet that they had before the pandemic. Due to labor and just the overall consumer interest in salad bars, I don't know if we'll necessarily ever return to what we had in the early days of 2020 pre-pandemic. Now, that said, the school meals are highly regulated. So you're going to get they're taxpayer, they're funded through Farm Bill. So for qualifying households, they are provided free of charge or at a discounted rate. During the pandemic, I worked on policy that helped grant the universal meal offering for all children in America. That was part of the COVID-19 waiver. That's where we pulled those funds. And that was what we called the universal free offering for school meals. And we're actively working on that, the new Farm Bill. So right now our country is still operating under the Trump administration Farm Bill. The Biden administration Farm Bill is underway with hopes that it will be completed in October. Very rarely do they meet the deadline. Farm Bill is the largest piece of policy that's written under any administration during their 4 years. So it's more than likely not going to be completed in October, but we are in the final stages. So one of the top things that we are, that from an activist perspective that we are pushing for is a return of that universal free meal offering. And a lot of amazing things happen when school meals are just a free offering, the same way hopping on the school bus and getting transportation is, or getting your textbooks are, or your technology access. So it's amazing what happens. So one of the biggest things that happens is when you evaluate the labor that's needed within a school cafeteria, you totally eliminate any sort of administrative time on collecting money. And that could include like real time kids coming through the lunch line and you're checking them out, or it could include, unfortunately, collecting lunch debts. That's become a real big problem in America. And so if you mitigate that, you are then you're freeing up labor to do more scratch cooking, to do more menu innovation, to help really identify, is there a way that we can introduce our students to new cultures through the food menu? Can we really emphasize, one of my favorite themes to tell people is like, one of the things we should all be trying to teach our children is don't yuck our yum. Don't yuck my yum, or don't yuck her yum.
Don't put all the stuff in it.
Totally. Because it's, everyone's taste buds are constantly changing. Science tells us that it's about every 6 months your taste buds change. So if you don't like something the first time you try it, no problem. Try it again. And there's a real good chance that this dish that you're not interested in could be the number one family meal in, Vietnam. And so why are you sitting here saying it's so gross when it's literally like the number one most cherished and popular meal in other parts of the world? And so that comes alive in school cafeterias in a way that
So it can be a
the
learning
average
environment.
household just doesn't have the means to do that.
Yeah.
We can't invest in that kind of innovation when it comes to our household menu planning more often than not, because we can't risk, our children not consuming what we're spending our grocery budget on. So there's, or we have the barrier in like, I don't know how to prep this fruit or vegetable. I don't know how to prepare this meal. I'm lacking the kitchen equipment. There's so many reasons.
Yeah.
But, so those are all components as to why I really am a champion for school meals. And I do, and another statistic that is, it shakes your core when you hear it, but it's important that I say it every time I have a chance. Over half of America's children that are in K-12 schools today are food insecure, meaning they qualify for free or reduced lunch. Okay. So when you think of it from that lens, school cafeterias are our nation's leading, that they're our leading institution for food security in this country. So it's really important that,
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's super important that for and I get it. The days of square pizza and ketchup counting as a vegetable, that really hurt the overall perception of school meals. But I really challenge anyone who has a negative perception of school meals today to go to their local school district and see truly what's being served, because it is so highly regulated, and everything from like there's a half cup of fruit and a half cup of veggies served with every meal, whole grains, sodium is at a minimal, they have a threshold that would where it can't be overly salty, which helps with like you can't have a whole lot of prepackaged, highly processed foods if you've got sodium restrictions. Yeah. So those are all things that's progress that we've made.
Yeah, that is progress. That's from, what I was thinking of was like, Pizza Hut coming in and bringing in pizzas and the commercial relationships that were formed.
And there's cafeterias that still embrace that.
Yeah.
But as we move towards a universal free offering, because the cafeterias make money on those days, they make money from households like mine who are paying cash, and instead of charging $2 and I should know the exact price. I think it's like $2.75 for the meal. They can charge $6 for the meal because it's Papa John's, and they're making money on that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the part that, is really appalling to me, is when that happens. So this shift that you're driving is really beautiful.
Yeah.
I love
and
it.
It's important too that like we increase confidence and participation, because without participation, you cannot change the tide, know?
Right. That's so good. So good. So you're doing all this wonderful work from an advocacy perspective, from reaching into the households, from bringing your wisdom of all these years. What's the biggest learning lesson you've learned on your entrepreneurial journey?
Move at the speed of cash. You can go out of business real quick. It's hard because when you're building something and, it's hard because there's always a good opportunity and you're going to have to spend money to make money. I hate that adage, but it is so true. The thought that we can just, start putting our offer out, like how's anyone even going to see it? You're going to have to spend money, whether it's in your design software or hiring out a creative designer, all of the social media platforms, like none of that's free anymore. I don't know if it ever really was either. Right. Here we are on your podcast, Cammie. I host a podcast. It certainly isn't free.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's free to consume. Right. It's free for our listeners. But to create good content day after day, week after week, there is a huge cost to that. So, I've had to make tough decisions. Like we used to do with our podcast as an example. Like I switched to this, we did a ton of video editing, and I hired in a producer that, she was phenomenal. I wish I could still afford her, but you have to be really mindful of okay, is this show not going to go on? Are my listeners not going to tune in? What percentage are actually watching this show on YouTube and appreciating the visual aesthetic, that I'm paying for with this editing versus the percentage that are opening up the Apple Podcast app and tuning in as they drive?
Listening. Yeah.
Right. And so we simplified it, and I saved almost $3,000 a month doing that.
Oh, wow. So being really, paying attention to where your cash is going, how it's coming in. I love that you're saying move at the speed of cash.
Yeah. And I wish that
putting
was
that urgency underneath of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had Jade Warshaw. She's a Ramsey personality with the Dave Ramsey companies. And she was on our show, and she, within the Ramsey personality, she's the one that really focuses on small business owners, because Ramsey is intended for, household financial literacy and advice. But Jade has brought a new perspective for entrepreneurs and small business owners to their platform. And that is actually her line, move at the speed of cash. But it moved my soul when she said it on my show. And so I literally have it at the top of my whiteboard. And then I
keep you on it, right?
Yeah. And then I also have a quote from my dad. My dad is deceased, but I do view my work as a tribute to a lot of what he taught me. And it says, if money can fix it, it's not a real problem. And that was something my dad said often. When I found myself stressed out about, finances, and it's easy to do, right? Your world comes caving in when there's financial stress. And that saying that he continued to repeat to me, and his wisdom with that, when he was telling me and my siblings that as we were growing up, it came true the day that we were in the hospital and he was pronounced dead. I was like, shit, no amount of money can bring dad back. This is a real problem.
Right.
And so those are two things that I share when I have the opportunity, because I think it is so important for people who are building something. You can find a way. You can figure out how to do more with less. I can't tell you how many times in my journey I've had to do more with less. I mean, the first time I was invited to a meeting at the White House, I had like $8 in my checking account. So I couldn't even afford the Uber to take me to the White House. And if you have ever been in DC in the summer months, it's like sweltering hot. And so I was walking to my first meeting at the White House and just praying that like I wouldn't be drowning in sweat when I arrived. And anyway, I was candidly like just texting with a friend because she knew I was going. I was like, oh, I'm fine. I just, hopeful I don't show up super sweaty. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, oh, I only have $8. Like I need to save it for my train pass back to the airport. And she was like, I'm Venmoing you right now. Not that that's a good strategy, but it's a worthy thing to say.
It's a good friend.
Yeah. Cause it's like, I was just walking like, and then after she Venmoed me the cash, I was like, okay, great. I'll get in the cab. But it is.
Bless her heart. What a story, Lori.
It is. And it's like how many other people go to their first meeting at the White House, like literally dead broke. And an entrepreneur, that's who.
Yeah.
But I think that you just have to be gentle on yourself, move at the speed of cash. Don't overthink, your financial struggles as like life-ending or world-ending problems. Our mental health in this society is challenging enough. Be gentle with yourself. And then also for all of the, I know this is the Extraordinary Women podcast. For all of the moms out there who feel like they're just doing everything at, 60 to 80%, nothing at 100%. Like I've totally been there. And I always tell people, like, there is no such thing as balance. There's only balancing,
Yeah. I saw you say that, and I was like, oh my gosh, we got to go into that conversation.
Yes.
So tell us more.
I get asked that all the time because in agriculture and, in the grocery industry, people like see my brand and they see what I've been able to do, and they see that I'm also still quite engaged with my family. And they're always like, how do you balance it? I'm like, I don't, I just don't. And
integrate it. That's the word I often use.
Totally. And I think, Cammie, that's like maybe even step one of getting closer towards a level of peace where you can, strip that guilt from you.
Yeah.
Totally. I think it's just identifying like there is no balance. I don't balance every day. I'm balancing. It's an active, process where some days my work will get 90% of my attention, whereas my children might only get 10. But then that following weekend, or that next day, I give my children 100% of the time and I don't even think about work, So that's what I mean when I say it. And I do think that as women, as mothers, as female professionals, we have an extraordinary amount of buckets that we have to fill every single day, more so than men, fathers, other professionals. Yeah. And, the societal pressures, the family pressures on the way that we set the tone and the way that we carry, the people who count on us. It is, we really are superheroes.
Yeah, totally. It's funny. I watched my niece's 1-year-old and 3-year-old for the weekend last weekend. My husband and I watched them. So thank goodness there was 2 of us. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And so I was like, yes, that was, and then their grandpa came to pick them up. My brother came to pick them up from me on Sunday night. I'm like, okay, have fun. Because I'm tired. I want to go to bed early. And so that's what I as I was thinking about that after the weekend, I was like, definitely, I don't even know how single moms, or not even single moms, how moms are are really managed to all of the things, all the balls that they do. And if you go back to the, the pandemic, I'm really blown away. But, even today,
Right.
I think I have a lot of admiration for that.
I do too. And my children are young teens. So like, I don't even have a lot of the challenges that, the moms of young children today have. I didn't have a lot of the technology stresses and concerns, and so it is,
right?
Yeah, society's an evolution always. And I just think we got to be gentle on ourselves. I wasn't raising babies in the era of Instagram perfection.
Yeah, I was.
It was, and that's something that we kind of pride ourselves on at TPM. We never want TPM, the Produce Moms. I get on a roll and I forget to say my brand name, but so we pride ourselves on at the Produce Moms. Like, we never want someone to encounter our content online and feel worse about themselves, ever. And there's a ton of content platforms and influencer models out there where that's their biggest contribution to society, is they're making women feel worse about themselves.
Yeah. Well, I love that that's a value that you're very clear about, because I think that's really important. There's so much noise out there. It's like, what are the grounding voices that we tune into that keep us grounded in a good, positive place? So kudos on that one.
Thank you. And Cammie, something, and it kind of goes into your previous question about like something you've learned. You have to declare your values early and stick to them, and our mission statement at the Produce Moms is we want to get more fruits and vegetables on every table. Me talking about my outfit of the day does nothing for that. Me showing a behind the scenes of my kid's indulgent birthday party does nothing for that. Me teaching you how to
oh my gosh,
cut up fresh pineapple. I'm helping you get more pineapple on your table. That's where we're staying in our lane.
It's value. I love it. And you guys are a B Corp. Congratulations.
Certified B Corp. We are currently, last I checked, we were the only influencer in the world that's B Corp certified. And we're really proud of that. B Corps, it's a global certification.
Yep.
There's less than 6,000 certified B Corps around the world. It's for-profit businesses only. It's a certification that holds the private sector businesses to the highest standards of social and environmental responsibility. Values that are near and dear to my heart, honestly.
Mine too. I really admire the values that they take, the pillars that they focus on.
Yeah.
It's really, so kudos to you for that.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a lot of good help. That is not something
it's a big deal to get that.
Yes, it took over a year just to apply, and go through the vetting process. And now, like,
and now you gotta keep it up.
Yeah, now that we are certified, I tell people, like, certification, you think it's the finish line because the application's so hard, when really it's just the starting line, And so now we're working on our first impact report, and That's been joyous, but it's an undertaking.
I've done the assessment on my business.
Have you? Congratulations. That's a huge first step.
I haven't gone to the next step with it, but I have done an assessment and see where there's opportunities to fix that. So I think it's good programming for sure.
I work with Impact Growth Partners, so I can email you over their info, because I could have never done it on my own.
Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. Do that.
Yeah.
Do that. What's next for you?
Well, so really excited about a few things. We, so the Luke Bryan Here's to a Farmer tour that just kicked off. We worked with the campaign, or with the concert campaign, to create recipes that that are inspired by, some of the vegetable seeds of some of the sponsors, and Luke Bryan's favorite fruits and vegetables. So that was a lot of fun, and those will be publishing soon on the Kroger website. So that's something we really enjoyed working on, and we're really anxious for that to publish so that we can just see it in lights. You know what I mean? Like that's always a rewarding moment. But other things that we're working on, I already mentioned. We're kind of in crunch time with Farm Bill. So for the activist work that I do, I'm supporting the WIC benefit, getting more fruits and vegetables into the WIC program, as well as universal free meals for students, or universal school meals, I should say. And then as it relates to the produce moms, we are undergoing a website redesign.
Fun.
So for anyone who's ever done a website redesign, I compare it to building a house. I've never built a house, but I'm like, you're picking out all the little things, and we just approved wireframes, and our goal is that the new site is live. Hopefully by the end of August or the middle of September. We have a big annual, in the world of fresh produce, our big convention every year. It's called the International Fresh Produce Association's Fresh Summit. So every year, all of the brands and anyone who has any sort of role in the value chain of fruits and vegetables at the global scale attends this annual convention. And so our goal is that leading into that convention, our website is done and we've worked out all the kinks. And so that's in October. I'll be cooking at that event and doing some other things to support some of our brand partners like Nature Sweet Tomatoes and Nature Right Farm strawberries. So looking forward to that. And then if you live near a Walmart, that sounds like a misnomer of sorts. Everyone lives near a Walmart. There are the Produce Moms branded Idaho potatoes are on shelf now at about 50% of America's Walmarts. So I'm actively working on expanding that footprint of our fruits and vegetables, our branded produce items with Walmart, as well as just general influencer strategies to support America's largest grocer.
Excellent. Excellent. And where can people learn more about you, about your podcast?
Thank you. Yeah, theproducemoms.com. That's our website. It's going to be really gorgeous here in a couple weeks. But please come check us out. We're also, the Produce Moms podcast has some deep discussions with all sorts of topics, that are centric to the fruit and vegetable industry. We've been doing some different themes. So like we just wrapped up our food as medicine theme. We're actively producing and publishing content under the superfood theme. And then we're going to be transitioning to, talking deeper about restaurants, school meals, and other food service stories. Excellent. So helping people navigate things like concession stands when they go to a football game, or, kind of breaking down some of the beliefs about school meals and talking to people who are involved with restaurant innovation, and really the overall theme of our podcast is fruits and vegetables are a solution, but I promise you, in our library, if you have a question about fruits and vegetables, there's a real good chance that we've answered it at some point in time.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. And they can find you on social.
Yeah, so The Produce Moms is our social media handle. On Twitter, I have a CEO page, and it's just The Produce Mom, singular. So you're welcome to follow along with me on that. But I promise you, you're going to be like, okay, where's the fruit and vegetable content? Because I really just tweet about my kids and my personal interests. So there is some fruit and vegetable content mixed in there, but if you really want to know a little bit more about me and what I spend my time with, and here's a spoiler alert, it's a lot of high school basketball stuff supporting my older son. But you can find me there. And then of course I'm really active on LinkedIn. So any of the professional women tuning in, please connect with me on LinkedIn, Lori Taylor. Happy to, share ideas. Mentorship is a real passion of mine. I've got right now 3 active mentees. I'm the mentor. I'm also a big fan in peer mentorships too. So reach out if there's anything I can do for you, and let's stay in touch.
Okay. And then the final question I always close with are, what are 3 pearls of wisdom you'd like to leave with us today?
Oh, goodness. Okay. Well, I think that I have to honor my dad and restate what I've got on my whiteboard from him. If money can fix it, it's not a real problem. Number 2, pearls of wisdom. I would say, the joy is in the journey. I know it's an overused adage, but there's a lot, one of the stories I shared today was about being broke. I'm walking to the White House. You know what I mean?
Right.
There is joy in every journey, and great stories and character building that come from that. And then the third, which has proven time over time, one of the greatest things I ever committed to, was don't burn any bridges. Again, another popular adage, but something that is so true. The world is much smaller than you realize. And if you can be leave every person that you encounter with at least a neutral perspective of you, but hopefully a positive one, it's amazing how that'll come back tenfold.
Well, thank you so much for all your good wisdom today, Lori. It's really been a pleasure hearing your story.
Thanks for having me on. I love your show. So thank you very much for letting me be part of it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.